Well, there's always time for one more interview here on Morning Live. Thanks so much for staying with us. Now, the National Liquor Traders Council, or the NLTC, has announced that they will be launching a Tavern Relief Program and raise 100 million rand to support over 34,500 taverns across the country over the next 2 or 3 months. Now, the council says that taverns contribute between 40 and 60 billion rand annually to the South African economy, and that the ban on the sale of alcohol is actually threatening the livelihoods of about 500,000 people. Now, according to the NTLC, they will also request government to support the industry by giving taverns a once-off payment of 20,000 rand. And joining us now is Lucky Ntimane, who is the convener of the National Liquor Traders Council, to tell us more about this relief program and also some other views on other things going on at the moment. Thanks for your time this morning and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, and thank you for having us, and good morning to your viewers as well.
Mr. Ntimane, you say you want 20,000 rand for 34,500 taverns. It translates to about 690 million rand, roughly. Do you think you're going to get that?
We remain hopeful, but let me state from the onset that is not a key demand that we have made to government. The key demand is that the ban of liquor, as it were, must be lifted immediately. We need to be allowed to go back to the trenches and start trading as a matter of agency, because failure to do so will condemn further our members into economic ruin that they will not be able to recover from. The 20,000 rand that we requested actually represent 15% of the potential revenue that our members will have made over a 4-month period. So it's not a lot of money, just a drop in the ocean, just to get them to breathe again and pick up the pieces and move on.
So I'm curious to know what your conversations have been with government to this point. This issue that you are asking for, this 20,000 once-off payment, have you raised this with them? What has been the response? And also, you say you want the ban to be lifted, and this would, of course, be for the second time, because the ban was lifted at some point when we came down to level 3, but then it had to be reinstated again. So how hopeful are you that it will happen, given the reasons and the conversations that you are engaging government on?
So let me also mention that, yes, we have reached out to government. In the past 15 days, we have written 3 letters to government, directly to the president as well, with no response. And on the 16th of July, when the president decided to close the industry like it was closing a tap water, we were hoping that at least we'll have been consulted, but obviously the president failed to do that. And that continues to show the disdain that it shows the industry and the small black business-owned outlets in the township space, which then concerns us. But we remain hopeful that, sanity will prevail. The government will understand the contribution that the liquor industry makes towards the economy, between 4 and 6% contribution to the country's GDP. And taverns, as it were, contributes between 40 and 60 billion annually to the government's coffers. So we would like to believe that, even this uncaring government, as it is shown in the past to be, will at least want to have a conversation with us so that we can establish conditions under which it will allow us to go back to trading, and we'll be able to preserve not only lives, but also livelihoods that are at stake now. As we speak, there's about 1 million jobs that are on the line, and government keeps talking about job creation. We're now saying to government, you have a chance to preserve those jobs. You don't need to create more. You just need to save 1 million jobs. How difficult can that be?
So let me understand this correctly, Mr. Ntimane. Since the beginning of the lockdown, how many times have you been engaged as a council by government?
None. We haven't been engaged by government. We wrote the first letter on the 12th of July, second letter on the 16th of July, and third letter on the 23rd of July. We are yet to receive a response to that. That goes to show and prove that this government doesn't care about the black-owned businesses in the townships.
So given that you haven't been consulted at all in these 4 months, given that you've had no response to the 3 letters that you say you have written, it then places you in a very precarious position, one would think. Is this part of the reason why you decided to come up with your own initiative of raising 100 million rand?
Yes, because our people are looking up to us as a council to provide guidance and also to ensure that their futures is not compromised as it has already been compromised by our president. So we are planning to raise 100 million. So this 100 million, what it's going to do is it's going to allow our taverners to get grocery over a 3-month period. So on average, a tavern will get close to 1,000 rand so that they can feed their families. And the 690 million, then that talks directly to the 20,000 ones of payment that we earmark for taverns so that they are at least able to breathe. I mean, on average, a tavern employs between 3 and 4 people. As it were now, we're looking at livelihoods that are linked to that employment in that space to be around 200,000 or more. So it's a dire situation. Something has to give.
So how exactly does the NLTC propose to raise that 100 million rand? Will you be putting in funds as a council directly into this fund, or are you hoping to raise it from members? How exactly will you go about raising it?
So we're not going to raise it from our members because they don't have money, and we are raising this to help them. So we're going to go to industry partners and also players in the entire value chain of the alcohol industry, and also allied industries as well as general public and also corporates that want to play a meaningful part in taking leadership in this societal quagmire, as it were, that we find ourselves in. So, but we are hopeful that we should be able to raise that money. There's a lot of companies that derive their income from the township space that will want, this industry to be restarted again. And we are hopeful that those ones will be able to come and also be able to uplift the tavern space and put their money where the mouth is and support this initiative of raising 100 million to the interest of the tavern owners, as it were, in terms of making sure that there is food on the table. But that it doesn't end there. We still need to raise about 690,000. That will be once-off payment. And we are making this call because we have now realized that this government will not give us anything. As you might have seen, they've requested some funding from IMF. And part of that condition of that funding is that they want there's a job creation drive. But we're then saying, you don't need to create jobs. You've got 1 million jobs to preserve. So maybe we need to also dip into that loan that they got. And we must understand that they also got another 5 billion from the Development Bank of Africa as well. So I think the money is there. It has to be used for wrong things like digging graves and buying scooters in the Eastern Cape. I think it's about time that this money is put to good use and help these small black business owners in the township space.
So please tell us a little bit more about what exactly your relief program will entail. Okay,
so there's 2 important things. Number 1 is to ensure that the tavern owners get 20,000 rand as a once-off payment. And then secondly, to ensure that they get grocery packs to the value of 3,000 rand over 3 months. That will cushion against the blow of them not being able to trade. Those are the 2 key high-level things that we want to achieve through the fund, the Tavern Relief Program that we are launching. But let me re-emphasize our call to government. We need to open the liquor trade. It doesn't make sense that we've been closed like this with no alternatives and no engagement from government, and that needs to change as a matter of urgency.
Well, part of the reason was that people, I suppose this could be put down to human behavior, were acting irresponsibly under the influence of alcohol, putting unnecessary strain on an already strained and burdened healthcare system. What sort of responsibility would you then take as liquor traders to try and assist in maybe not correcting so much, but helping people to behave accordingly, behave better, and consume their liquor responsibly?
Part of our call to government in those 3 letters was to say to government, let's come together and develop solutions for the common good of the country and also for the sector and industry. We understand that we are facing an old age problem that is linked to a behavioral issue or change that needs to happen. We cannot do this alone as taverners or liquor traders in the township space, but we feel that government is also best placed to be able to provide guidance in terms of what is it that they require us to do so that we can partner with them and have that social compact that will be able to deliver, the goods, the results that will preserve not only their lives, but also their livelihoods. But because government does not want to talk to us, we are made to feel as if we are the only ones that must come with solutions and implement them. But pick an important social partner, which is government. So we continue to seek solutions to this. we are not avoiding the fact that there is a problem. I think there is a problem that, the few drinkers in the country that are partaking in alcohol are creating problems. And we need to deal with that decisively. We're not running away from it. We're taking full responsibility that alcohol abuse in the country is a problem and is caused by a few, and we need to deal with that as a matter of agency.
To date, what have you identified in terms of dealing with this? As you say, you're expected to come up with solutions. Have you thought of any, just incidentally?
So our first step to try and address this was to request data from government. So that data was going to inform, our targeted approach. So, for example, if in Barra there's about 200 cases of stabbings that are linked to alcohol, then we could then have a targeted catchment area to say, in townships that are linked to the Barra Hospital, it means we need to have a targeted approach, have programs running in that area that will address the issue of alcohol abuse. So it allows us not to have one all-fit approach, but have targeted intervention in specific areas. But because such a data is not even being made available to us, but we're not surprised because we're not even consulted when the call is closed. But we wanted to have an approach that deals directly with issues where they occur. But we've been unfortunate, that we're not receiving any help from government, so we have been unable to do that. Partners, Distel, SAB, and Heineken remain critical in the fight against alcohol abuse and harm, and they've made real commitments to us as a council in terms of funding so that we can drive this behavioral change and also we are able to tackle this issue head on. But government is not coming to the party.
Mr. Ntimane, for me, when you say that, I think at this point you basically just kicking the road down the can, hoping to deal with it later on when you reach that point. Because as you yourself say, if you take a hospital like Barra, you know what the situation is there on any given weekend and how many of those incidents are alcohol related. So just in terms of what you already know, even if it is anecdotally so, what have you done to this point to try and make interventions?
I think it's an issue of balancing, like I mentioned earlier, preserving lives and livelihoods. If we were to take or make decisions based on anecdote condemns the livelihoods of 1 million people, surely that will be unfair. And I understand your sentiment around, kicking the can down the road. I think we as liquor traders, we see differently. I think we're actually picking up the can and wanting to fill it with solutions, real solutions that will make a change and difference on the ground. We cannot operate if our consumers are dying. It's not in our best interest not to protect our consumers. In fact, liquor traders have always been leaders in society. They've always been role models in communities in which they operate in. And we want to reclaim, that drive, that initiative of wanting to make a difference in our communities. And we remain hopeful that government will realize sooner or later that we are actually key partners in fighting the abuse and harm. And not only that, we're also taking the moral high ground on issue of gender-based violence. Might be aware 54% of our taverns are owned by women, so we have got leaders on the ground that are willing to tackle the issue of gender-based violence. And we've got programs that we'll be launching in Women's Month, that will address exactly how we're going to deal with that. So we want to be the difference on the ground. We just don't want to be seen as liquor traders only, but also as change makers in our communities and society.
Now, according to yourselves, the Liquor Traders Council, you say that the NLTC, the taxis, you've been cornerstones of township economies. So when you see what the taxi industry has done and what they have been able to achieve by being defiant, how do you feel and where does that leave you in terms of your strategy going forward?
We have high regard for the taxi industry, and we do not see the action as being defiant, but as a strong resolve to protect their livelihoods, which should be commended, and we commend them for standing for their members and for their families to make sure that they preserve their livelihoods. So maybe the question that you're not asking is, are we going to take the same route as them? I think the route that we're going to take is that we're going to preserve our livelihoods at all costs.
What does that mean? At all costs.
It means we'll do whatever it takes. It means we'll do whatever it takes to make sure that our members do not go to bed hungry. Means that I can employ to make sure that that doesn't happen. And we're going to explore all avenues to ensure that those livelihoods are protected at all costs.
Well, the taxi industry were clear. They said, you know what, we're not making enough money by not filling 100% capacity, and this is what we are going to do. So in your instance, what exactly do you propose to do?
So with us, obviously, we take guidance from our members on the ground. If they tell us to go left, we go left. If they say south, we go south. But I think it's important to mention that we're not going to take this lying down, take the fight to government to listen to us. You know, it's even a pity that we have to beg this government that claims to be listening. I mean, we even have a president who claims to be president who thrives on consultation, and he has done none of those. I think in his last speech, he mentioned that he wants to support spaza shops. Spaza shops are not owned by South Africans. The true black-owned business is taverns, and he wants to do nothing. He wants nothing to do with it. He continues to treat us with total disdain, which is unbecoming of a state president to actually condemn black-owned business in the township, which are a cornerstone of the township economy, to devise our own means, which actually in any way we're going to do. We're going to devise our own means of survival, whether with the help of the president or his government or not, but we're going to devise our own means that will ensure the survival of not only the tavern sector, but also the liquor industry as a whole. I think it's our responsibility to make sure that, we don't fail our families in how we do things, but also that we do whatever we do in a legal way. We respect the laws of the country, but we're not going to compromise the fact that we need to earn a living and we need to preserve our livelihoods, which we're going to do.
So what sort of time frames are you putting to this? How long are you going to wait for a response from government and be patient until you, as you say, do whatever it is that you need to do?
I think this president must know that our patience has limits. And he has pushed us this far, and we are almost close to the edge now. He had a deadline of 5 o'clock on Friday to respond to a raft of requests, and has chosen, obviously, to do 9 of those. I think his next request after our funding from the Development Bank and also to IMF, that's our response. He keeps asking for money that we don't even know what he's doing with it. And we are saying to him, Mr. President, instead of saying that you want to create jobs, let your first task be preserving the 1 million jobs that are on the line by your irresponsible decision that you made on the 16th of July. You've got a chance to save 1 million jobs. How much jobs do you want to create out of the loan that you took out from the IMF? You have a chance now to be a hero and preserve the 1 million jobs. It's that simple. But, I mean, this is an uncaring government that we are subjected to. And we have no hope that something will change. I think we'll continue to be treated with disdain. Hence, we're taking matters in our own hands, and we'll continue to do so to make sure that we preserve our livelihoods.
Well, thank you so much to the convener of the National Liquor Traders Council, Lucky Ntimane, talking to us about their organization's planned programs to help the 34,500 taverners nationally. Let's take a quick break.